Welcome, this is Ameco and you're watching our daily updates live from Bahar Dar, Ethiopia. I'm Gaila Damu, stay tuned. Chief Government Whip Tesfaye Baljige said that the federal government will further strengthen its support for the success of the national dialogue process. And Netanyahu has more on it.
In an exclusive interview with European news agency, Tesfaye said that there are differences of opinion and disagreements in Ethiopia between sections of the society, political and ideological leaders on the most basic national issues. Tesfaye noted that to resolve these differences and create national consensus, conducting broad, inclusive national dialogue forums is necessary. The European National Dialogue Commission was therefore established by the House of People's Representatives to lead independent, inclusive and transparent national dialogue in 2021. The main objective of the Commission is to facilitate consultations among various segments of the society on fundamental issues of the country by identifying the root cause of existing differences through dialogue. The Chief Whip stated that at the government level, the National Dialogue Commission has been set up to create a platform where all those who have different views can take common position. Accordingly, the Commission has gone through several processes and is currently carrying out important activities. The plan is to complete identification of agenda and participants as quickly as possible and enter the main negotiation and discussion forums in the current Ethiopian year. The Chief Whip, who ascertained the determination of the government to support the national dialogue process, called on Ethiopians to play active role in realizing the success of the dialogue. However, Tesfaye said there are some elements that are trying to sabotage the National Dialogue Commission from achieving its objective. He stressed that their actions are futile. Currently, Europeans are moving to a stage where they can sit down and hold dialogue on common issues.
Jamaican-born Ethiopian curator and Pan-African artist Desta Ameco passionately urged Ethiopians to harness the enduring spirit of the Adwa victory to address contemporary challenges and propel the nation towards a brighter future. Brown Wismo has more on it.
Megu, who serves as a curator of the Pan-African wing at Addis Ababa University, views the newly unveiled Adwa Victory Memorial Museum not just as a monument, but as a beacon of hope and unity, not only for Ethiopia, but also for Africa and beyond. She emphasized the need to reignite the true love for humanity, country, the spirit of unity exemplified by the heroes of Adwa.
I think what needs to be restored is that true sense of love of country, love of each other. It doesn't mean we have to like everything each other says or does.
Recognizing the symbolic significance of Adwa, Megu stressed the Adwa Memorial is important and we have a duty to recognize the impact of that event, not just the event itself. Megu urged Ethiopians, especially the youth, to appreciate their rich heritage and draw lessons from the Battle of Adwa. The memorial, she believes, should serve as a constant reminder of past struggles and sacrifice, motivating them to carry forward the torch of unity and love for the nation.
That very battle has allowed us to feel free inside. And so I think the significance of the memorial is more for Ethiopians, because we, so many times, we have gold in our hand and we think it's dust, or we think it's, So I think this move to put this memorial here is crucial for the next generations of Ethiopians, and especially existing generations, to appreciate, because Ethiopia is massive.
Megu underscores the profound connection between Adwa and the Pan-African movement, while acknowledging the significance of earlier victories against colonialism in Haiti and South Africa. She emphasized the decisive nature of Adwa, which served as a resounding affirmation of black self-determination and the fight against oppression. Therefore, the 1896 victory of Adwa propelled the Pan-African movement forward, because it was an affirmation and the confirmation to what should be done to protect national sovereignty, which is so precious, she stressed. Speaking of women's participation, Megu highlighted the crucial role women played in Adwa, led by the formidable Empress Aitu and countless others.
Women were an integral part of this win, and this speaks to the spirit of Africa and Ethiopia. We're a highly socialized people.
This battle, she argued, served as a pivotal moment in recognizing and upholding the power of women, and this value should continue. While acknowledging the cultural and economic potential of the Adwa Victory Memorial Museum, Megu urged Ethiopians to look beyond mere celebration and delve into deeper introspection. She emphasized the need to learn from history, address internal challenges, and utilize resources for sustainable development. Only then, she believes, can the spirit of Adwa truly translate into progress and prosperity. Having this museum here is another place for visiting and learning, she added. We have 100+ million people in Ethiopia. Imagine the revenues if 10% of the population are visiting this memorial on an annual basis, she said.
Ethiopia's diplomatic effort has brought tangible results, particularly in the return of heritage in antiquities lost by foreign actors. The UK Westminster Abbey agrees in principle to return the sacred tablet, the Ark of Covenant, to Ethiopia. British forces lost it at the Battle of Magdala in 1868. Modom Luye tells us more.
England's Westminster Abbey has agreed in principle to returning a sacred tablet to the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, igniting a debate around restitution claims made by the East African nation. As to The Guardian, the tablet, which features a carved inscription that symbolically represents the Ark of the Covenant and the Ten Commandments, has been at the Westminster Abbey since it was looted by the British forces during the Battle of Magdala in 1868. And the Ark of the Covenant could now begin its journey back to Ethiopia. The diplomatic efforts being made by the Ethiopian government regarding the returning of stolen artifacts back to the country is bearing fruits. Some months ago, the country was successful in having returned more than 10 artifacts from the British Museum, and now one more is on the way to come home.
Our country's ancient civilization, history, artifacts, fingerprints of indigenous knowledge, culture and value have been looted through war and smuggled out illegally. At this moment, countless treasures of ours are found in various countries' museums, research institutes, and in the hands of individuals.
We have our own numbers, we have our own time, we have our own scripts, we have our own Bible in our own language, and we are one of the countries in sub-Saharan Africa who has a monastery today in Jerusalem. Our history is a Bible history. Ethiopia is an ancient land. We have an ancient history and culture.
African brothers and sisters, as well as international figures, have also been magnifying the voices of Ethiopia regarding this issue.
Why are we here? We're here because history matters. We're here because truth matters. The truth is that these items and the tableau were looted. They were stolen. They were seized by force. That is the truth. That is why they are in the British Museum.
I mean, if you've ever been to Ethiopia, you will physically see what these objects mean to Christians in that country.
Relationships that cross boundaries of race, that cross boundaries of nations, that cross all boundaries, that bring us together. The relationships we have with one another. That's what matters.
According to The Guardian, a spokesperson for the Westminster Abbey said that the Dean and Chapter has decided in principle that it would be appropriate to return the Ethiopian tablet back to the country. The British Museum is the world's largest museum, a depository of historical, cultural and ecclesiastical artifacts and items collected from around the world during the British expedition back to the early 17th century. The presence of the Arks of the Covenant and other artifacts taken from Ethiopia into the museum's collection demonstrated the country's rich diversity of religious traditions such as Christianity, Islam, Judaism and others.
Diplomats attending the 37th AU Summit say that Africa needs healthy and knowledgeable citizens to achieve its short and long-term development plan. They added that African Union should focus on financing education and health so as to realize its agenda of 2063. Belet Etarekeng has compiled the story from Addis Ababa.
Education which fits to the 21st century for Africa was the theme of the 37th organization of the Assembly of the Head of State and Government of the African Union. Delivering quality education to all Africans is among the fundamentals to achieve the agenda of United States of Africa or Unifying Africa in 2063. Nonetheless, lack of peace and stability as well as rise and spread of disease are causing a significant discomfort in quality and accessibility of education. Diplomats attending the summit state that Africa should focus on creating a healthy and knowledgeable citizen in order to achieve its short and long-term development plans.
Education and the strategy for education should go hand in hand with food security, with health systems and so on. And the little that we have, we can put together to support education systems. We have seen in countries, for instance, like in Kenya, where because of the food program that the governments have put in place, more students are coming to school, because they even get better opportunities for feeding in school than at home. And also when you feed them well, they become more available to education. They better understanding and replicate it across the continent. It's something that can be done, and it will be done.
The potential of Africa's youth now and in the future has to come from education that will move them forward into a green digital economy. So that's what we've been talking about, and we're particularly pleased to see the real commitment by African leaders to financing education and making sure that education finance reaches the children who need it the most and is used wisely.
Diplomats further explained that lack of peace and stability as well as the rise and spread of disease in Africa have become major impediments for addressing quality education and health facilities, which indirectly hinder developmental activities.
Many of the young children, they are in areas where there isn't very good health care, there's not good medication support and so on. In addition to all the other challenges that affect our continent on peace and security, the areas that are affected. So many of the educationists are, they cannot really plan well. They don't have proper facilities. They don't have access to school. The primary duty becomes survival. And that's a big challenge for us.
It has a huge impact, and particularly because conflict then leads to people feeling unsafe around sending their children to school, people having to move to go to safer places, and the education cannot always keep up with that conflict. And it's really important that we do not leave those children behind, because they're in many ways they're the ones that need it most, because education has it can overcome some of the trauma of conflict. Particularly societies that have inequitable access to education are more likely to fall back into conflict.
They explained that education has to be greatly financed, and the culture of resolving disputes through dialogue has to be promoted to succeed the goal.
Peace and security is absolutely critical. And in any place, without that, you cannot do any programs for development and, of course, no education. We need to guarantee the teachers who are training. We need to guarantee students' peace. We need to ensure that we can build facilities. And without peace and security program on the ground, a lot is being done, but more can still be done.
I think we need to move forward. First of all, I'm talking about domestic financing, is maintaining, protecting the domestic financing for education. You need continued innovative and new financing mechanisms, which are African and supported by the international community, including ourselves.
What I would advise is to further engage in the political dialogue when it comes to the implementation of electoral democracies, which I think is still the less evil system that humankind has adopted so far when it comes to contributing to sustainable development and sharing of wealth between the population of a given country.
The 37th African Union Summit, which was attended by more than 8,000 guests in 49 countries, ended in peace and success, according to the information gained from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
As we proceed to news beyond borders, Kenya has waived entry fees for passport holders from South Africa and 6 other countries following widespread criticism of the recently introduced $30 fee. The move aims to boost tourism and attract business travelers. Previously, all foreign passport holders were subject to visa requirements, but the government's decision sparked backlash for potentially increasing travel costs and bureaucracy. Exemptions now apply to passport holders from South Africa, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Congo-Brazzaville, Comoros, Mozambique, and members of the East African Community Regional Bloc. San Marino, Europe's third smallest nation, is the only other country on the exemption list. A memorandum from Kenya's Interior Ministry and Immigration Department said the exempted countries had entered visa abolition agreements or signed bilateral visa waiver agreements with the East African states. However, travelers from these countries would still need to get an electronic travel authorization document, which is valid for 90 days, as African News reported it. That's all the news we have for today. I'm Gaila Damu. Thanks for watching and stay tuned with the rest of our programs.